Today I am going to tell you the story of such a boy whose fight is not only with himself, but also with the entire society. At the beginning of the story, we see a man named Frank and his son Miles stuck in traffic. Their pet dog Albert was also in their car, with whom Miles was playing and eating chips. Seeing this, Frank tells Miles, "Why are you eating so many chips? It is not good for our health." But Miles does not listen to his father. Frank gets angry and says, "Today we are late to the hospital because of you." In fact, Miles' mother Lana has been sick for a long time and has been admitted to the hospital. When Frank scolds Miles, Miles gets out of the car angrily and starts walking away from his father. Frank follows her and tries to convince her. That's when they hear a strange sound from an ambulance in front. In a while, an animal comes out of that ambulance. This animal looks like half a human and half a bird. Seeing such a scene, everyone in the surrounding traffic gets scared. Actually, a kind of virus has spread in the world, and whoever is infected with this virus is turning into a strange kind of animal slowly. The government is researching these animals so that they can find an antidote to the virus and turn them back into humans. So, two people get out of the ambulance to catch that bird-like animal and try to catch it, but the animal beats them up and runs away. After that, Frank and Miles quickly get into the car and head towards the hospital. On the street, they see another creature, a small child with a face like a lizard. That is, this child has also been infected with the virus and turned into an animal. Then, Frank and Miles reach the hospital, and the doctor tells them that Lana's physical condition has improved a little. But she cannot be taken home yet because she will be sent to another city for better treatment. Then, Frank and Miles go to visit Lana, and then it is revealed that Lana has also been infected with the virus and has now turned into an animal. The city where the doctor decides to send Lana, Frank and Miles also decide to move to that city. A few days later, Frank takes his son to the city where Lana was transferred. After going to the new city, Frank rents a house and starts working as a chef in a nearby restaurant. Miles also enrolls in a school in that city. Now Miles goes to his new school and tells the other students in the class his name. In the same class, there was a girl named Nina, who asks Miles about her parents. In response, Miles says, "My father is a chef and my mother died in an accident." In fact, Miles said this on purpose so that no one would know the true condition of his mother, so he lied to Nina. Here, Nina tells Miles, "I have a problem called ADHD, and because of this I am very curious to know everything. So I ask a lot of questions, don't be offended by my words." Miles starts to like Nina after hearing her. After school, Miles goes to her father's restaurant, where Frank worked. There, Frank introduces Miles to the owners of his restaurant, who are a couple, Nema and Jack. Jack tells Miles, "This town is small, but very beautiful. The problem is that the government has opened a hospital in this town for virus-infected people. Because of this, everyone here is a little sad." Immediately after these words, a strong wind suddenly starts blowing, which causes Jack to close his restaurant. That night, a storm comes and it rains heavily, which causes Frank's house to lose power. While Frank was trying to fix the light, Miles saw an animal outside the window. After a while, the light turned on and then the animal disappeared. But Miles did not tell his father anything. However, the next morning, Frank received a phone call from the police. The police told him that the bus in which his wife was being brought had met with an accident, and the bus had sunk into a pond. Frank was very sad to hear this, and quickly took Miles to the pond. Upon reaching the pond, Frank tried to search for his wife, but the police came and calmed him down. The police said there were many virus-infected people on the bus, some of whom died, some fled into the forest. Here, a police officer named Julie comforted Frank and said, "We have not found your wife yet, but our team is searching in the forest. Hopefully, she will be found very soon." At night, Frank is seen hanging some clothes outside the house. Miles asks, "Why are you doing this?" Then Frank said, "Your mother has now transformed into an animal, so her sense of smell has increased. She will be able to find us by smelling this cloth." Hearing this, Miles said, "Mom will not come back. You will not get any results by doing this." But Frank did not listen to his son and told him to go home. The next morning, Miles goes to school, where the teacher asks all the students to play a game on the field. There they play tug of war. Miles' team starts losing as they get weaker, but right then Miles starts pulling the rope alone and in a short time defeats the opposing team. Everyone is amazed by Miles' strength. Here, Miles himself starts to feel very strange. At this time, a boy named Jordan is impressed by Miles' strength and invites him to a party at his house. Then Miles runs home and starts looking at his nails in the mirror. He sees that his nails have changed a little from before. Then he pulls out one of the nails and sees that it looks like an animal's nail. It becomes clear that Miles himself has also been infected with the virus and is slowly transforming into an animal. Then he sees a strange scar on his back, which makes him understand that he will no longer be human. Thinking about this, Miles is deeply hurt and starts crying. The next morning, Frank goes to the supermarket to buy some things. There he meets police officer Julie. Julie tells Frank, there is no news about Lana yet, but some infected animals people have been found and they are being taken care of well. In the middle of their conversation, suddenly some people are heard screaming. Then a man comes and tells Julie, an animal that looks like a human has entered the supermarket. Hearing this, Frank thinks that maybe it is his wife Lana. He starts calling Lana. Then Julie and Frank see a baby that looks like an octopus. The baby is scared and wants to run away, but Julie somehow catches it. Meanwhile, Frank sees another baby under the table that looks like a bird. Frank tells the baby, "Don't be afraid, I won't hurt you, I want to talk to you." An officer comes there and tells Frank to leave and picks up the baby that looks like a bird and takes it to the ambulance. Then, Julie comes to Frank. Frank was loading some things into his car. Julie asked, "Why did you buy these knives and other things?" Frank lied, "I bought them for camping." Julie then forbade him from going into the woods and left. Frank had actually bought these things for Lana, so that he could meet Lana in the woods and give her these things to help her survive in the woods. The next morning, Frank went to wake Miles up, but Miles refused to get up. After a while, a message from Nina arrived on Miles' phone. "Will you come to Jordan's party on Friday?" Miles was very happy to see this message, and got up and went to his father. Then Frank told Miles, "Yesterday I saw 2 infected children in the supermarket, which made me absolutely sure that Lana is still alive. So we will both go into the woods on Friday to look for your mother." Miles then told his father, "I will go to a party at my friend's house on Friday." Frank says, "It's more important to find your mother than to go to the party right now, because she's your mother." But Miles ignores his father's words and goes to his room. Then Frank says, "Okay, you can go to the party, but you have to back home early." On Friday, Miles goes to the party, where he drinks a lot of alcohol. Here Jordan brags about his father's sword, and some people talk about animals that look like people. Suddenly, Miles falls, so Nina gives him a tablet to reduce his intoxication. Then Miles suddenly starts licking Nina's hand like a dog. Everyone is shocked to see this scene. In fact, all this was happening because of Miles's body changes. Then Miles stands a little distance from his friends. Then he hears the call of an animal from the forest, and he runs towards it. The next morning, Miles is found sleeping in a forest. There, the police are looking for infected people. Miles hides when he sees the police boat, because he realizes that he is also infected and that the police will catch him. Meanwhile, Miles' face is covered in blood, which suggests that he hunted an animal that night. Miles quickly returns home, and he feels that something is stuck in his throat. Just then, Frank arrives, and Miles quickly closes the bathroom door, because he does not want to tell his father that he is infected. After a while, a bird feather comes out of his throat, which he realizes that he ate a bird that night. Then, Frank and Miles go to the forest to look for Lana, but they cannot find Lana anywhere. Then Frank assures Miles, "We will find Lana together." Thus, night falls, and they fall asleep in the car. In the morning, Miles wakes up to see a bird running towards the forest. He follows it from behind. Suddenly, a boy who looks like a bird attacks Miles. This is the infected child that we saw at the beginning of the movie. There was also another small child-sized creature sitting on a tree watching Miles at this time. The bird-like boy scratched Miles' hand with his nails, causing Miles' hand to bleed. Then he looked into Miles' eyes and realized that Miles was also affected like him. Realizing this truth, he did not want to kill Miles anymore, because they had become the same. Then Frank came there and saved his son from the creature and took him away from there. Then Frank started taking Miles to the hospital. On the way, they came across a checkpoint, where there were many policemen and Julie was also there. Now Julie sees Frank and asks him what happened when she sees blood coming out of Miles' hand. Then Frank lies, "A dog bit Miles, so I'm taking him to the hospital." But Miles refuses to go to the hospital, because he knows that if he goes to the hospital, the doctors will think he is infected. So, since Miles doesn't want to go to the hospital, Julie takes him to the police station so that his wound on his hand can be bandaged there. Here Julie tells Frank, "If you ever need any help, you must let me know." Then Frank and Miles return to their house. Here, Miles removes some stitches from his hand and starts licking his own blood. The next day, when Miles comes to lab class, he sees a feather on Nina's locket, which looks like the feather that came out of her throat. Then Miles grabs Nina's locket and asks about the feather. Nina gets angry and says, "You should ask permission before touching someone." Then everyone returned to their studies, but Miles could not concentrate, because his mind was distracted by the sounds of the rats kept in the lab. So Miles suddenly shouted at the rats. Everyone was surprised to see Miles' behavior. After school, it was seen that Miles could not ride a bicycle due to the changes in his body and he fell. Then Nina asked him to walk. Here Miles apologized to Nina and said, "On the day of the party, I insulted you by touching your hand with my tongue. I should not have done that." Hearing this, Nina forgave him and invited him to her house. Back home, Nina took out a dead bird from the fridge and showed it to Miles and said, "The day after the party, I found this bird in front of my gate. Then I put its feather in a locket." Then Miles realized that he had caught this bird on the night of the party and left it in front of Nina's house. In fact, Miles liked Nina, so he brought that bird as a gift for her. Then Miles went to a lake and caught a fish and started eating it. At this time, a woman saw him eating raw fish, so Miles ran away from there. Then Miles went to the place where he had seen a bird-like boy before. Miles saw that the bird-like boy was trying to fly again and again, but kept falling to the ground. Miles brings a fish for him and says, "What is your name?" Also asks if he knows anything about Miles' mother. Then the bird-like boy said, "I don't remember my real name, so I called myself Fix. And as I don't know who is your mother, so it's impossible to say anything about her." Fix was injured while flying. Miles told him that you need a good place to practice flying. Then Miles took him to a lake and cleared all the wood so that when Fix tried to fly again, he wouldn't fall to the ground, but into the water, and wouldn't get hurt. When Miles was returning home in the evening, he couldn't ride his bicycle and was falling on the road. So he left his bicycle in the forest and walked back home by himself. Meanwhile, we see Frank working. When he goes to throw out the trash, he hears some strange noises. He thinks that maybe Lana is there. So he keeps calling out, "Lana, Lana." But suddenly a different creature attacks him. This creature was chained. It almost killed Frank when Nema comes and saves Frank. Nema tells the creature to calm down. The creature calms down, but the chain on its legs is causing it a lot of pain. It is getting worse, so it runs away from the restaurant. Seeing this scene, the customers who came to the restaurant also run away in fear. Frank still feels that Lana is somewhere nearby, so he goes to the forest. There he sees a creature that looks like a bear, and this creature is none other than Lana herself, who has completely transformed into a creature. Meanwhile, Nema tells Frank, "This creature was my sister, whom I hid here." After a while, the army arrives there and they start searching for the creature. We then see Miles back at school. During lunch, Miles loses a tooth. Everyone laughs at this, so Miles storms out of school. He then goes to see Fix, who is practicing flying. Fix keeps falling into the water. While taking a break, Miles puts medicine on his wounds. Miles then removes the bandage from Fix's mouth and finds that his face is completely scarred. Fix says, "The doctors did surgery to cut off my overgrown lip." Miles puts medicine on his mouth and puts the bandage back on. Meanwhile, another virus-infected child is sitting in a tree watching them, whom Fix calls Frog, but Miles says, it's more like a lizard or a color-changing chameleon. Meanwhile, Julie helps Frank find Lana, and they go into the woods together, where at first they don't see any animals. But then Frank sees Miles' bicycle there. He is surprised to see this and brings the bicycle home. When Frank goes to wash his hands, the sink becomes clogged. He opens the sink pipe and starts cleaning it and finds a lot of hair and some nails in it. Seeing this, he realizes that Miles is also being affected, and he has also started transforming into an animal. Later, when Miles returns home, Frank asks him to show his nails, but Miles refuses to show them. Then Frank gives him his bicycle and says, "Ride it." Miles realizes that his father knows everything, so he wants to run away from there. But Frank somehow catches him and hugs him tightly. The next morning, Frank gives Miles breakfast and he starts eating like an animal instead of eating it like a human. However, Frank doesn't say anything, but brings Lana's medicine and gives it to Miles, but Miles refuses to take the medicine because he knows that this medicine will not work for him. Before going to school, Frank checks Miles' teeth and sees that his teeth have become very sharp. Then Frank tells him to cut his nails every day, so that people don't know that he is infected. He also puts cotton in his ears, so that he doesn't hear the noise around him. He also tells him to use a cream to remove excess hair on his body. Then Julie comes to Frank's house again, and the two of them go out to look for Lana again. Meanwhile, Miles talks to Nina on the phone while walking outside the house. He tells Nina to scream loudly, and puts the phone away from her ear. When Nina screams, Miles can hear the sound clearly from a long distance. This makes him realize that he can now hear sounds from kilometers away. The next day, Miles goes to meet Fix again. There he learns that Fix can no longer speak like a human. He can only imitate the sounds of birds. Hearing this, Miles hugs him. Then Fix climbs a huge tree and jumps from there. Miles sees that Fix can now really fly successfully. Miles is very happy to see this. That night, a party is held at Frank's restaurant. At the party, Jack tells Frank, "We lost to pigs, and your son hasn't come yet." Hearing this, Frank finds Miles and severely scolds him. Frank also scolds him for not trimming his nails. Then he forces Miles to cut his nails. Then Miles bites his father's shoulder in anger. Then Frank holds a pair of scissors to his throat and threatens him, that causing Miles to leave. There, Miles meets Nina. Nina wants to take him for a walk in the field. While walking in the field, Nina and Miles get very close to each other. Then Nina feels a bone like an animal on Miles' back and says, "I know this and I still love you." Then they both go back to the party. In the party's washroom, Miles sees one of his classmates. The boy tells him, "I saw you and Nina together, and I know the truth about you." As soon as he says this, the boy starts making noises from a small machine, which causes Miles to experience a lot of pain in his ears. Scared, Miles attacks the boy and runs away from there. Then the boy goes to the party and tells everyone that a strange animal has entered our party. Hearing this, everyone started calling the police with weapons. Then the people there came to the field to look for the animal and brought a dog with them. But Miles scared the dog by roaring, so the dog ran away. So that it was understood that Miles going to become some kind of tiger or wolf. Then the hunters started shooting towards the field. Then Miles started running away. Frank learned that some people were trying to kill Miles in the field, so he quickly ran towards the field to save Miles at this time. Fix also came there and caught one of the hunters with his wings and killed him. Then Miles and Fix went into the forest. But there another hunter shot Fix and killed him. Seeing this, Miles completely broke down, went to Fix and started crying. After a while, Frank and the hunters found Fix's body, but no one saw Miles. The next day, the army comes to the forest with a truck and starts searching for all the animals. Miles hides in the forest and eats some fruits to satisfy his hunger. After dusk, he climbs a tree and starts making wolf-like noises. The next morning, Miles notices a bear's footprint. Miles follows the footprints and moves forward, but at night it starts raining heavily, so he hides in a cave. After a while, a bear approaches him, which scares Miles, but later he realizes that the bear is actually his own mother, who has taken the form of a bear. Their heads meet and then Lana starts leaving. Miles also follows her. Following Lana, Miles reaches the place where all the infected people, that is, animals, are hiding. At the same time, the boy who has transformed into a chameleon sees something falling from the sky towards them, which was dropped from the army helicopter. Now Miles and the other animals try to escape from there. But the army throws smoke bombs and knocks everyone unconscious. And the chameleon boy changes his color matching with the tree to avoid the soldiers' eyes. The other animals are caught by the soldiers. Then we see Miles at the police station. Frank tells the police that Miles went to the forest drunk and he has nothing to do with these animals. Julio helps Frank because he did not know about Miles' illness, so he asks Miles to be released. However, Miles' sign was needed. When an officer asked Miles to sign, Miles forgot how to hold a pencil and tore the paper. The officer gave him another piece of paper, but instead of signing, Miles started growling like a wolf. The officer realizes that Miles has been infected with the virus. But before the officer can do anything, Frank hits the officer on the head, knocking him unconscious, and takes Miles out of the police station by sealing the paper himself. Then they try to escape from the city in a car, but when they look back, they see that the police are chasing them. So Frank takes the car through the forest instead of the city road and reaches the middle of the forest and says to his son Miles, "You can run away from here. I am freeing you." Miles becomes very happy and runs into the forest screaming with joy. This is how the movie ends. That's it for today. Thank you all so much for staying with GRS Story. Be well everyone. I will be back with a new video very soon.